Well, today's webinar from the Open Group. I apologise, we're running just a little late, but I'm sure that it will be well worth the wait. Before I hand over to our presenter, Remco Bloom from Biz Design, I would just like to cover off a few housekeeping issues. We would encourage you to ask questions during this event. This is one of the priority objectives of these events that we want from the Open Group. The best way to submit a question is the text QA facility in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you do submit a question via that facility, please could I ask you to address your questions to all. That one gets to see the questions that are being submitted. And we'll handle the questions at the end of the presentation. This presentation is also being recorded. For any reason you have to leave the event, or if you experience any local technical difficulties, the recording will be available from tomorrow. So that's a full audio and visual recording. Remco, if you're ready, can I ask you to start your presentation?
Yes, thank you much, Simon. Thank you, everybody, for joining me this. For me, it's already evening. I'm currently presenting from Amersfoort in the Netherlands, and I'm going to take you on a journey through strategy implementation using business models, architecture, and roadmaps. I will present many examples and present to you a way how to capture business models and how you can implement new business models. So stay tuned when innovation is important for your organization. Also stay tuned when constant innovation is part of your job. Okay, also stay tuned if this is your ambition then. We'll go a bit quick for some of you. So of course you can then look back at the recordings, or you can to our website where you can leave your details for a copy of the slides, or maybe you're interested in a practical white paper on the relation between business models, enterprise architecture, and business process management. I will show a slide at the end of the presentation again, so if you didn't have time to read this URL, then it will be screen at the end of the presentation again. So a short introduction of myself and business design, and we dive into business models. What are those, and why is it so important to get on your business models? We'll walk through some innovation techniques, and we will see how this is applied in practice, and we will present an integrated approach on how to relate your business modeling efforts to your enterprise architecture efforts and your business process management efforts, and we'll pop with some takeaways. Remco Blom, I work for Biz Design in the Netherlands. We also have offices in different regions, in Toronto, in Belgium, in Germany, London, and I'm a consultant trainer there. I'm certified also to deliver training in that. Lots of my work focuses on Archimate, the open standard modeling language, the Open Group, and I do assignments with clients in banking, in insurance, in media, and in non-profit organizations and government. My background is in business, and via I entered the world of enterprise architecture now about 7 years ago, and more I see that changing your system, changing your processes is not enough for organizations. More and more attention in my work drives me towards reinventing business models, and I think it's a very logical thing for EAs to move towards and to look at and to see how your enterprise architecture fits into the bigger picture of a business model. I work for Biz Design, and one is building strong organizations. And we help organizations to govern and change themselves. So we're training, we deliver tools, and we provide organizations with certain methods on open standards. And of course, we also have a consultancy organization to help the organizations to move forward. But our main goal is to help them and also help them change themselves. There's tools, consultancy, training, and best practices. And on the left bottom, you see the best practices we will present today. The business model canvas from Eleanor Osterwalder. We have, of course, an Archimate. And our main focuses for today. And in all these best practices, you can get training, you can get consultancy services, and these are also implemented in our tools. then the world of business models is moving, and it's moving fast. We did in a Harvard Business Review, we see lots of books pop up, and the book on the right top is the book of Alexander Osterwalder, a very inspirational book of business model. It's called Business Model Generation. Um, it's a sort of de facto standard today for business architecture and for the modeling of your business model. It's a journey. Think, where were you? It was the year 2001. The world was looking at very different back then. Europe, we didn't even have the euro in 2001. That really changed the market for many organizations. I think we heard about global warming at all in 2001. We had something like CO2, and there were some issues regarding environmental issues, but it wasn't called global warming until halfway 2005, 6, I guess. And which one of these organizations already existed 10 years ago? None. Maybe MySpace? Not sure. I cannot escape these developments, and developments go fast. And some organization, this means trouble. For instance, Enron. This used to be an organization that was in the market for energy, so delivered gas and electricity, and at a certain point they decided to change their business model and to the market of complex products, a lot of options and a lot of stock market exchanges. And in a certain point in time, their very simple business became very, very complex, and they didn't understand too much of it themselves anymore. And we all know what happened after that. And some of you even have their job thanks to Enron, because COVID and SOX and that sort of compliance-y stuff became normal after the Enron scandal. I already mentioned MySpace, and I'm not sure we're the inventors of social networking. At least they were the main player 5 years ago. And look at today. So where they have missed functionality, they've missed the market, they've missed the value position. That means that Facebook is the player in this market. And last week we had the Dexia. This is a European bank, a very big Belgian bank that was built on making money. So they also had an insurance company, and they made lots of money. But at a certain point in time, they missed the market, and lots of their revenues were on the intermediary market. A lot of it changed, and they weren't able to adapt quick enough. Of course, also in the financial market, things are changing very rapidly today. Graph. This is a very interesting one. It's a graph of the 20 biggest bankruptcies in the world. And on the left side, you see the years. And in the last 10 years, 17 of the biggest bankruptcies worldwide occurred. So it can mean two things. One is that organizations become bigger. Another one is that the life cycle of business models becomes shorter. So it's more and more important to understand your current business model and to assess if this current business model is still feasible in different future scenarios. We also run here. It was 2001. The big horse is Lehman Brothers. It's financial institutions. They seem to tend to become very big, but UL, it's an airline. So the cycle of business models becomes shorter. So organizations have trouble finding the right business model for the future. But there are also some organizations that don't want to escape and make lots and lots of money in this new world. For instance, Xerox. I'm not sure if they invented the business model thinking, but they're a very important factor in it. They created a copier, and all their advisors said, this copier is not going to make you money. It's too expensive. It's too technical focused, so organizations cannot buy it. Then with the idea of not selling the machine, but leasing the machine and let organizations or clients pay for per copy. So that shifted the way they make money, and that caused that Xerox is the biggest copying organization in the world. Or let's say Google. Google changed not per se a way of searching the web, or the way they are able to target advertisements on the questions you ask. So given a certain search tag or the word search on, you get different advertising. And the more popular a word is, the more expensive this word is to advertise on. So that really shifted the world on the web for advertising from paying for display advertising towards pay per click. Or so. So because we pay a lot more for our coffee than we did 5 years ago. It might be partly because of George Clooney, but because of their business model. So they make not much money on the machines, but they make a lot of money on the cups. And of course, Apple. It's the design, of course, and it's very cool, but it's also very innovative in the world of iTunes, for instance, the way that they connect the device to the content, and that they let you pay for every download you do. App, they control the platform. So those who can't adapt will disappear, just like the mammoth. If there was a dumb animal, it was just not able to adapt. So one thing, a business model. Business model is not about the product, it's not about the way you make money alone. This definition that Alexander Osterwalder gives us in his book, Business Model Generation. They say a business model describes the rationale of how an organization creates, delivers, and captures value. Got that? How it creates, delivers, and captures value. Make a showman for yourself. Imagine you are at a party and you explain to someone or describe the company that you work for. So what is the business model of the company you work for? What would you say? That you've never met before, who doesn't know your market, doesn't know your business. What sort of words would you use? I think probably terms like these. Ask people in training or in a seminar or a presentation. Normally they come up with this sort of ideas. So STEM, 2 weeks presented at a business process management conference. Them talk about their business model in terms of processes, which is not very surprising, of course, over there. And if I present for CFOs, they express or explain their business in terms of revenue. So where do we make money with? Marketing organization, they will explain about value and customer satisfaction and what really is important for the customer. And if I talk to architects, they tend to talk about resources, systems, and processes, other than channels and customer relation. But is wrong. It's all important, but everybody has a different perspective on this business model. So if we would like to compare apples and oranges, or we want to even be able to merge an apple with an orange, or if we'd like to sell an orange being an apple, have a common understanding of a business model. That's what we use the business model canvas for. In the business model canvas, we explain business models in a very standard way, and we 9 boxes. One of the boxes is the market segments. So explain your business model to someone can start with explaining who is the client. Is this a mass market, a niche market, very diversified, maybe multi-sided like Google or newspapers? And by selecting your market, you get a different business model. So for instance, Nintendo chose a different market segment, so not hard gamers, the market for PS, PlayStation, Sony, the market for families and women. They're Wii. So they could save money on the graphics, and they delivered a different value proposition to a different market. Or Motors created a very cheap Tata car, which they didn't went to the market for in competition with other car manufacturers, but they went into competition with the market for motorcycles. So when they made such a cheap car that they came into another market segment. Think about what are the markets I'm in. Then second, to think about what value I deliver to these different market segments. Is very brand focused, or am I improving the profit of something of my client? Am I reducing the risk or maybe cost? So to think about what is the actual value that this market segment getting from me as an organization. What makes me so unique compared to my competitors? Then also to think about how does my value proposition get to the market? So channels I'm using. Am I selling through Salesforce? Am I using stores? Are these my own stores or maybe third-party stores? Maybe doing direct web sales. So what you used to know as a product market combination is come up market channel combination. So phase of the sales or maybe even after sales for a different product to a different market, we use different channels. Some more and more important. You think about what type of relation you would like to have with your customer. Are you selling to this customer just for one time, or want to have a long-term relationship with this customer? Customer going to use self-service, or do you want to involve them into your community and do sort of co-creation, as it did, for instance? This is a UK-based mobile telco provider, and they are very cheap, and this is because they don't have a desk. So desk is outsourced to their customers. You can ask a question on a forum, then in 2010, 6% of all questions were answered within an hour. Why do people do this? They do it because they're part of the GiveGap community. They do it because they get paid for it in free messages or maybe minutes to just calling minutes. And of course, they do it also for getting recognition inside this community. So they get kudos or points for giving the right answer. So a totally different relation with their customers than Vodafone have, for instance. So on the market side of your business model, of course, you need to make revenue. Asset sales, usage fees, licenses, advertising. What going to money, and how are your products priced? So it makes money by asset sales, just selling stuff, and there's a margin on top of every product. But a fitness organization makes money because you have a subscription and you pay a monthly fee, and you can walk in and out whenever you like, even use escalator. Non-profit, maybe you're more interested in expressing the effect of your business rather than the revenue. This business model canvas is also very useful for non-profit organizations, and of course then maybe less important, and then you want to express the effect that you're having with your business model. Great. We deliver value to customers through channels. We build a certain customer and we make money with it. Going to deliver this value, of course, you have key activities. This is where our processes are: production processes, R&D, knowledge sharing, marketing. So really key in our business. This is where work is in the key activities. You want to express who is doing this work and maybe some other key resources. So for a bank, IT is very key, in a private equity house, there are very important financial resources, of course, maybe technical resources, infrastructural resources, all sorts of resources you want to describe, and you need to deliver this value. Sales partners, but also your suppliers can be partners. All sorts of collaborations you want to describe as part of your business model. And on the left side, all these partnerings. The most popular partner today, Facebook. Everybody wants to partner with Facebook because Facebook is booming and they have a big connection to your potential client. And beside all these activity sources, partnering costs that you have costs. You can choose whether you want to create your business model very cost driven or maybe very value driven. You can think about your economy of scale and see if your business model here or there gives you a certain add based on the economy of scale. Nose to the Burj Al Arab in using an EasyJet plane. This doesn't fit, but these are two totally different organizations. The one is 100% focused on the delivery of value. Cost is a non-issue for people going to a 7-star hotel. And EasyJet is very cost-oriented, cost-focused, and they have a totally different business model because they choose to be cost-oriented. Boxes that together make the business model canvas. It's a very generic and a very simple approach for capturing your business model and describing how you create value and how you capture this value. Also, non-profit organizations, as mentioned. As long as you deliver value, this can be a very interesting approach for you. Of course, then think about who are my real customers. Is that's paying me or is it someone else? And of course, your costs and revenues are then partly qualitative, but there is no reason at all why this should not be applicable for you. Let's dive into an example. I took a look at Skype. Even though they use WebEx, be a possible business model canvas for Skype when they started it. They want to focus on travelers and small, medium-sized businesses, and they want to deliver them free international calls and video conferencing facilities. The small, medium-sized businesses use service over the web, of course, and free. Do they make money? They have this service that is called Skype Out, so that you can call from Skype to a landline and you pay a certain fee for that. But their business is free. Activities, it's a software development, cost of services, of course, and the most important key resource there, VoIP and software infrastructure. And of course, for developers, the people are also a very important key resource. Together with local telcos, payment providers that help to let customers pay for the Skype Out facilities. Maybe also device producers, let them pre-install Skype onto their devices, for instance. And goes to salary of the developers mainly, to the infrastructure, of course, the rent or maybe the ownership and maintenance of their servers. Of course, not a complete view of all their activities, but it's the key activities. So all these boxes, you are focused on describing what is key. What successful, I think they were. Microsoft paid $8.5 billion for this company. They had the simultaneous users at the same time at the 28th of March this year, which was a record. I think they are quite successful. Use a business model pattern that is called freemium. It is also LinkedIn and Flickr. It's very popular on the web. There's certain free value for free, and if you want to get more out of the service, you pay for a subscription. And this is called the freemium model. There are patterns for free. For instance, the advertising model, very popular in free newspapers and commercial television. Another free model is called bait and hook, which use in printers. But the most popular example, of course, is the razor blade example from Gillette. So you get the Gillette machine for free and maybe 2 or 3 of these razor blades. And then after that, so Gillette invests in your raising experience, and they hope, of course, that after that you're going to pay for the razor blades. Bait and hook, it's called. There are patterns you might be able to use. For instance, the multi-sided platform pattern. Google is an example of that, or credit card companies. They need to have 2 different type of customers, and if one of their customers lags or fails to appear in not doing this, the other side will fall as well. So if Google doesn't have that search, they don't have advertisers. And if you cannot with your Visa card in any store, then you probably it's not very likely that you want to have one of those cards. Another one, long tail. This is also a pattern which describes that many stores cannot keep a very big inventory, so focus on a very small number of products. There is a much big market much big niche market for stuff that is absolutely not for sale in stores, because the sales are very low. Focus on this long tail. For instance, when you are an online store, you can potentially make more profit than the bricks and mortar stores. On the bottom you see the unbundling pattern. I think that's a very interesting one for enterprise architects. It is how you can try in your organization, or that organization feels a certain tension between customer intimacy on the front side of your business model and the focus on operational excellence in the back side of your business model, on the side of your business model. And the unbundle pattern describes how you can try to unbundle business model and just focus on one of these and try to outsource other aspects of your business model. And then you can connect various business models and say, okay, what is for me my main proposition can be for you just one of the activities that you do. We can then connect the different business models with each other. So if you have insight in your current business model, it's very likely that you want to change something in your business model. And there are different approaches to do so. You can, for instance, do research-driven innovation. This means that you look at your business model, see what are my key resources, what are my key activities, what are my key partners, and what else can I do with those. For instance, Amazon, which is an online bookstore, they looked at their, I'm not sure it's this business model approach, but at least they looked at their key resources. They found out that they were having a big set of IT stuff, and they thought that they could use that for different purposes, and they started a SaaS platform or SaaS platform and deliver infrastructural services over the web. So you can rent a server at Amazon, and quite a big portion of their revenue is coming out of this IT business today. Or offer driven and say, okay, I make certain products or services, I deliver that to a different market. For instance, Spectrum, they deliver surgical instruments in the States, and they are focused on surgical instruments for human, but of course as well sell those to the veterinarian market. So offer different market. Or.com, it's the biggest online media store in the Netherlands, and they are innovating customer driven. So they come to the market of books and music, and every year they add some new product offering because they are very trusted by the customers, and they now sell toys, electronic goods, etc., etc. So the business model stays relatively stable, but looking from the customer perspective, they added stuff and they innovated their business model. Innovation into the telco market coming from a financial perspective. So more and more telcos are still surprised by the fact that their revenues from text messages drop because everybody's using WhatsApp, this free messaging service. So they see that the revenue from data is still too low to compensate for the loss of revenue on the text messaging and calling side. So they have to innovate from this financial perspective, and they can things basically. They can either try to make money on the right side of the canvas, or they have to cut costs to the left side of the canvas. Or choose a multi-center driven innovation approach. What if Google starts a bank? They have an enormous customer base. They know us and you better than any other bank does. And they have relatively up-to-date systems. There's a license, I guess, which seems to be a minor problem. So that business model canvas from the Osterwalder, let's say you can use it in practice. I will add more of these green fields. Startup in a certain entrepreneur, you can use this canvas to type what planning is. A creative process, I would advise you to not do it by yourself, but with a team. We ask partners together create this business model and see what is the best one and just start from there. Too bad, not too many organizations are green fields anymore. Many are looking for a new direction. So make a SWOT analysis. What are our strengths? What are weaknesses? What are we good at? What are out there? And describe their current model. And outside in, they want to create new alternative business models. They use the epicenter approach that I presented just before here, but then also apply elements from other successful business models. So you can look at successful organizations like Google, like Apple, but also maybe in your own market, and to apply elements from the business models that are successful there. Look outside your own business. And of course, if you have an old business model and an alternative new business model, or maybe you have different options, you want to understand the gaps between your current and future business model, and you want to know what the impact these changes are. Typical users: strategic management, LOBs, management, business development, innovation management. And it's per se the business model itself as an outcome that is so very useful. It's also the process that you go through together with a group of people that really helps you to you and them to understand your business today and to live through the various and go through the various options you have for the future. Our application is just being smart, or at least pretend to be smart, by using the business model canvas and ask the right questions. So if you are in a meeting tomorrow, you just use the canvas, draw it on a piece of paper, and listen to what people are saying, and you will instantly learn that people are focused on just one or two sides of the two aspects of the canvas. This might be a good thing, but maybe not. So you can ask questions: shouldn't we think about customer relations? Or are missing the point on costs and revenues here? That sort of questions. And you can drawings to understand how certain changes will impact on other aspects of the model. And into the model, for instance, into the key activities, and try and understand how your process architecture relates to your key activities, or maybe dive into the key resources and understand how different systemscapes are in the business model as a whole. And maybe you're focused on the relation between the different bits. This is something that everybody can do. So consultants, architects, business analysts, management, everybody can use the business model canvas or business model thinking as a concept to be smart, or at least pretend to be smart. Another application is for communication and implementation purposes. So it can help to put your enterprise architecture in a context. If you have, for instance, certain delivery concepts in your enterprise architecture, these might be a representation of the customer relationships, or the other way around, it might be an implementation of the stuff you thought in your business model canvas, or certain views of product market channel combinations that you want to present, or maybe you have mixed views or revenue heat maps. That these are all, from my perspective, enterprise architectural views that are in certain points hard to present to the business, but if you put them in a context of a business model canvas, they might be easier to digest. Or as I said, you have process views, organization views, application views, maybe process improvement views, how resources are allocated to certain key activities and how that influences the value proposition. Or maybe cost views, collaboration views, all sorts of views you currently are making, but by putting a business model canvas on top of those, you put them in a bigger perspective. This might be helpful to get traction at C-level. And I meet many project managers, but more business architects that to visualize impact of change. They want to read their enterprise architecture and process models to this bigger perspective, and they want to help their customer, being a C-level manager, the creation of roadmaps for implementation. And of course, then the question pops up: will a bunch of post-its on a canvas do the job? No. On the left side, you see the App Store. This is a concept created by Apple to help people that own an iPhone or an iPad to access different useful apps. And on the right, you have the Ovi Store. This is a brand created by Nokia to help owners of a Nokia smartphone to be able to load apps on their smartphone. So if you put the business model of the App Store and the business model of the Ovi Store on a canvas, I think they look very similar. But the rest of those is not similar. The App Store is very, very successful. Ovi Store, not too successful. So the business design is similar. The differences are made in the implementation. Implemented the cut of a brand, the design, the processes, the patterns, maybe first mover advantages, maybe second mover advantages, all sorts of implementation stuff that really is the difference here. It's not about the successful business model, it's about the successful implementation of a business model. We think you need to put your business model in perspective of the strategy. For instance, use solution strategy, balance scorecard, SWOT analysis type of stuff. That's the context, but also sets requirements for your business model. So in the business model phase, you design your business model, you test your business model. We call that wind tunneling. Not sure if that is proper English, but the idea I think is understandable for you. And by creating roadmaps, of course, then if you have a set of business models you want to implement or try to implement, business model sets the context and requirements for your implementation phase, in which you use enterprise architecture, business information planning, business process management, and project management. So, bottom line, business alone will not do the job. You have to put them in the context of strategy and implementation. So to do this fully, you need to have a step-by-step way of working. In other words, a method. And you need to have, or you need to be able to create these models in an integrated way. And of course, these models and methods, or tools and methods, meet in the center in the create viewpoints. So in every method, you need to be able to create viewpoints or analysis, and models can be a helpful tool for that. So from strategic discussions to business model discussions to architecture discussions to detailed implementation discussions, and the around from detailed implementation discussions that probably are not doing, or they might not do the job for you. You have to go up to architecture discussions, and if the architecture will not solve the problem, you maybe have to go up to the business model, back to the strategy. So this needs to be very well aligned and very well integrated. Its vision on business models the design. So based on the strategy, you create first a group of people, you create your business model ideas, you use patterns, you iterate, you change, and you check stakeholders if this is the good way to go. So in this creative phase, the 3M post-it notes on a canvas is fine. But if you want to go on to next phases, more formal modeling in environment will help you with maintenance, with analysis, and with integration towards the implementation phase. So please use the 3M post-it notes creative process, but formal modeling is very useful to help you stream. For instance, using this tool to be able to do SWOT analysis. Let's say in what points in my business model I'm very successful, and in what points in the business model I'm really lacking compared to what's asked for in the market or compared to competition. So you have your business model and you have ideas for the future. You want to analyze your future ideas against certain scenarios. Based on the outcomes of this analysis, you want to improve this model and you want to test certain prototypes. And we use the wind tunnel analogy. And so same thing when you put a sports car in a wind tunnel and you see what streamlined it is and what the downforce is, and etc. The test object is the business model and the two scenarios and casual or core models. So you have to design certain scenarios. Of course, you design business models. Then you put the scenario and the business models inside this wind tunnel concept thing, which is, of course, analysis in the tool. And outcomes are the strengths and weaknesses of your business model given the certain scenario. And that helps you to improve business model, and then you come out adjusted business model that is the starting point for your implementation and road mapping phase. And we do all sorts of revenue and costs analysis. We do break-even analysis, and this is on the model itself. Of course, you can also go outside and just ask the market if they are ready for it. If you can find customers that are willing to pay for your product. You can also create heat maps. It's very small because I hope you cannot read it. It's like analysis, so you see where the strengths and weaknesses, maybe potential stoppers are given a certain scenario. So for a client, we see where the strengths and weaknesses are in the scenario, and if we hold them against another scenario, you see different heat points and different green points. Find it, you've tested it, you've chosen the best one for the likely scenarios. Then you come into the phase of implementation via the integration, enterprise architecture, business process management, program management, and you want to start learning and improve your business model. And this is where TOGAF, Archimate, and that sort of more enterprise architecture focused methods and modeling techniques kick in. So the model-based changes that you want to get of your existing business processes and of course your existing enterprise architecture, your existing business models, and innovate those into new business models, new architecture models, new process models. And of course then the bottom, the hard stuff is getting the existing world to move towards the right to your input business. And the real business in your business processes, all others just models. If you do this on an agile way, we have to have your model world up to date and to have and keep different East models in sync. So you have your business models, architecture models, process models, and keep it in sync so that you can apply innovation on a certain level that is appropriate, and that you can then react to certain opportunities and threats. So if this is a very straightforward opportunity inside a business process, then BPM is great. If this is an opportunity or a threat that is more that's a bigger thing, then you might need a more holistic approach that enterprise architecture gives you. If this opportunity or threat asks for a totally new approach on your business, then a business model approach is the starting point. And then you want to implement the new and improved business models in the reality, of course. But before, you need to implement the changes that you made in one model, and you want to assess what the impact is of this change in other models. And you want to add implementation details. Business model canvas is high level, and it is not a good starting point for a project. So you want to dive into that deeper. So keep it in your current situation, design it from the relevant perspective, but then keep it in sync in the future state as well, and implement it in reality. Changes in your business processes, in the uses of the channels, in the certain market shares that you want to enter. To do this in a very coherent and a very structured way, you need languages on all three layers: business models, enterprise architecture, and BPM. You want to do analysis on all three levels. So for instance, SWOT analysis on the BM level. On enterprise level, you want to do analysis. On the BPM business process level, you want to do certain performance analysis, quantitative analysis. You need structured methods. The blue strategy or business model generation for business modeling. Enterprise architecture methods, let's say TOGAF, or a method for business process innovation that the business design, for instance, provides. Tools to maintain, test, and improve your business models on the highest level. So currently you have the business model add-on on Business Architect, but there's also in the pipe now a tool that will help you to connect your business models to strategy models. For enterprise architecture, there's the leading tool, Design Architect, and for BPM, there's the Biz Designer for more detailed process modeling. And to have implementation techniques on all levels. So you want to make very high-level roadmaps on the business model level. Create, for instance, process prioritization matrix out of your enterprise architecture. And the implementation in the BPM world is you can't go for BPEL for automated execution, but in cases it's really change management there. So to go one level to another, you need to be able to connect your implementation results from the business model level to the point of methods on enterprise architecture level. And that's the same thing when you are finished with EA. You have to have a connection from your implementation towards business process innovation methods. And of course, it's the same with the tools. The tools have to be able to go both ways, downwards, so implementation from the business model into the architecture, into the process, but also upwards, which is very important to be able to give feedback from the architecture approach into the business model approach, or from the BPM approach into the architecture approach. So we put some takeaways. Takeaway number one, we advise you to describe your current business model, the whole, maybe as a departmental model or project model. That doesn't really matter. It's a very structured way to do so using the canvas, and it will give you some very relevant insight. The patterns, for instance, the free pattern, can be a very interesting way to look at your business model, and it will help you to learn from very successful companies that give stuff away for free. And a very innovative way of looking at your business model. Be pitfalls. For instance, the assess paralysis, which is on the left, that you are too long analyzing your model. It's just a model. It's a on the future. So test it. Talk to people. See if there are customers willing to pay for your product. Don't analyze. Don't keep analyzation phase. You say follow up with your first ideas. So don't follow with your first ideas. You need some analysis, and you need to have some feedback from the people around you. Shoot the outstanding ideas. So, especially in the creative process, it's very important to keep some for outing different, maybe at first sight, weird ideas. Use the centric approach to gain ideas, to analyze the impact of your innovation options. So have a look at your model from every angle. And for sure give you new insights. But and you understand that the model does not make money. The work you should on the relation to implementation, because only after implementation is where success is. It can help you with business model management, with integrated methods, and we work very hard to integrate this business model approach with the open standards given to you by the Open Group or maintained by the Open Group. Currently working on a white paper for that. So if you go to the website and you leave your deals there, we can put a list that we send it to you. But it will also be will publish through the Open Group. In business model management, by explaining and helping organizations to get innovative ideas, but also on the relation with enterprise architecture. And you saw some screenshots from our tool that helps you model the canvases, put it in relation to your enterprise architecture and process models. So if you double click on a certain aspect of the business model, you dive into the enterprise architecture aspects that are relevant for that part of the business model. So to stay agile, don't become the woolly mammoths in your market. And it's not the strongest of species that survive, but the most intelligent, not the most intelligent one, but those that are responsive to change. And the model approach can help you to stay agile. If you want to pay fast, or you want to have more info, feel free to check our website and leave your deals there. I can get a copy of the slides. So the mentioned white paper will be sent to you if we finish that one. I would like to thank you very much for joining me during this conference, during this webinar. Feel free to contact me or contact This Design, and a very pleasant or rest of the day if you are in the US. And please feel free to stick around because I will answer some of the questions that were put on the chat.
That's Remco. Many thanks for a very interesting presentation. If you do have any questions for Remco, please send them in now via the text QA facility. Yes, we've had quite a few requests with regards to getting hold of your presentation. Just remind everyone, what is the best way to get a copy of your presentation, Remco?
Yeah, there are two ways. For me, the most convenient way is if you, of course, this is a hyperlink, but you cannot click on it, right? So go to our website, bizdesign.com/home, menu 1147. I wasn't able to get an easier URL on such short notice, but the easiest way for me to distribute those to you, and then you get a PDF copy of it, and you will also be then put on the list for the practical white paper relation between the business model canvas, TOGAF, Archimate, and how this all is enacted. So that's the most convenient way. If you're unable to write this down, we'll keep it on the screen. Then you can always find me over LinkedIn or send me an email, and I'm more than willing to send you a copy. So this will not be a problem.
Remco, many thanks. Well, at the moment I can't see any questions, so you've obviously been very clear. So I think what I would do is probably take the opportunity to end this presentation now, Remco. Hang on, no, before I do that, we've had a question come in. Sorry, Remco, this is from Legu, and she's asking, can you describe in words again the distinction between EA and BPM?
BPM. Yeah, sure. So EA, Enterprise Architecture, this is a holistic approach for change organization for business transformation, and it focuses on a high level view of your products, processes, your organization, your information, applications, data, and technical infrastructure. So it's a broad approach. From a business model perspective, more or less focused on the left side of your business model, so on the infrastructure side of the business model. BPM is a more practical approach that focuses on business processes. So in cases, BPM focuses on the improvement of what or a set of processes and the relation that these processes have with the actors, the rules that are participating in this process, and the systems that are supporting this process. So the perspective is not the whole, but it's the process. The process is the starting point for analyzing your processes in BPM, where it is a more holistic approach. And we see that many organizations start with a BPM approach. They say, oh, we have to improve processes. Then after a certain point, they come to the conclusion that changing their processes alone is not enough. So they have to look at systems well, and then they need to change technology. And before they know, they need a wider approach to understand and tackle these complex problems. So then they start looking at EA and using the open group standards like TOGAF and Archimate. And now today, we see a trend that change systems, infrastructure, and processes alone is not enough anymore. So that's why today's webinar is so relevant for you, that organizations start to understand that they need to look at an even broader perspective and try to understand how their business models look at today and how they will, how they need to look at, how they need to be able to perform in the future as well. with this extra information, you understand the lastly, you understand the distinction between BPM, business process management, EA, enterprise architecture, and the business model management approach a bit better.
Thanks. Got a question here from Mariam Fugaza. Do you know or advise of different levels of effectiveness of EA in different industries? This person is interested in what could be achieved in utilities.
Yes, there are different levels of effectiveness of using EA at different industries, but it's not the industry alone that makes success or makes an EA approach effective. It's also the people. It's the maturity of the strategy function, the IT function, and the project management function in the organization. So all factors play a role, but typically EA is very successful in organizations that have two factors current. One, complexity. So it needs very simple environments. EA is there's no ROI, there's no return on investment for EA. So you need to have complexity, and the other factor is that you need to have change. If stuff is very stable, then EA is it's useful to understand and maybe useful to analyze, but the big effects from EA are in organizations that are changing. So if you are in utility, you will probably have some regulations changing over time. You have all sorts of information from environment that wants to know what you are doing and how you are doing it. Customers have different expectations from you today than 5 years ago. I think very IT intensive. So if IT is strategic, then they should be as well, I think.
Question here from Thagikupa Shishandri. I apologise if I'm not pronouncing the name correctly. The question is, will we end up using different tools for BP, EA and BPM? And if so, do they interface in a standard way, Remco?
So actually two questions here. Will up these different tools? Now my suggestion, of course, it's no. You will end up with one integrated set of one tool or an integrated set of tools, of course. If you stick with one vendor, then of course it's very well integrated. These markets are still relatively immature. So in the market for BM, business process management, there are some standards, but these are very technical focused or much focused on the graphics. You have BPMN, the business processing notation, which is an open standard. In EA, you have the standard for Archimate, for model, and for the business models. There, of course, we presented today the business model canvas. But no standard interfacing between these different levels of abstraction, or for the modeling that is being done on those. So I would suggest you find yourself a vendor that did a very good job in integrating these different aspects, because there's a big value in integrating those. Not sure if you need one tool. If you choose for different tools, then try to find different tools that either open standards or are from one vendor.
Question here from Mohammed Jibril, asking what kind of analysis do you do? Is a what-if type analysis or Monte Carlo type analysis?
I'm not sure what the Monte Carlo type analysis are, but you can either do on different levels of abstraction. There are different analysis. So, for instance, on the analysis of on the business models, we do SWOT analysis. We do impact of change analysis. These are in terms of if I touch this element, what other elements are touched or changed. In enterprise architecture, we do also gap analysis, for instance, which is very interesting. If you compare a A with picture B, or you compare your application landscape of 2011 with your expected application landscape in 2015, and try to understand the differences between these, In the business process world, which typically have more in their models, popular processes are on simulation. So you see what the availability of the different in your process are, and you can also insight in the bottlenecks in your process. So more detail means more abilities for simulation as well. Uh, there are some people who want to contact me. I think that's fairly easy if you send me an email, so that's no problem at all. Time, Simon, if you want to wrap up with one final question.
Yes, there's one question here, Remco, from Rashid. Some current IT industry trends, has it become more important to understand a business model first than before looking at enterprise architecture?
Depends. So my statement for today is yes, it's very important to understand your business model, and yes, it's very important for ACE to not look at the whole of the enterprise from an IT perspective, but get more focus on the market side, so the marketing side, on channels, customer relations, customer segment, revenue, if going to redesign parts of your business, I think it's not only about optimizing the stuff that you do, but also ask the question, am I doing the right things? And typically it's a business model question. So it's not about improving the stuff that you do or doing things right, it's about doing the right things. So if that question is relevant, then a business model is a very interesting technique to take a look at. And that is a starting point for your EA analysis and your EA design.
Great, okay, thank you. Just one very final brief question. I am aware of the time, from Basil, and he's just asking, Remco, can you give any advice on what material to read about the BM canvas? Are there any books or materials you can think of, Remco, that's worth reading?
There are a lot. So, modelgeneration.com, it's a very good starting point. Learn about the business model canvas from Alexander Osterwalder. And you also saw a few of his book covers. His book is called Business Model Generation, and it's one of the better books I've read in the last years. It's very well designed, and there's great cases in there as well. I think that's a good starting point. And there are many websites on this subject, but not too much yet on the relation with enterprise architecture. And I think for that, you can either contact me or post something on LinkedIn groups around TOGAF, for instance. And I'm sure you'll get the information you're looking for. But starting with business model generation is a good way to go, I think. Thank you very much, everybody, again.
Great, Remco. Many thanks. We've had a lot of compliments in on both the chat and the text, thanking you for an excellent presentation. So I would like to mirror that and thank you, Remco. I'd like to thank everyone for attending this event, and please do look out for future events from the Open Group, and with I will end the event. Thank you very much, Remco.
Thanks to the Open Group for the facilities.